Hey everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio, and you're about to listen to our final part in the conversation with five friends. Hope you enjoy. Watching Tommy play fetch with Luna.
You were listening to us watch the dog. It was
The adorable dog.
Oh, come on, throw the ball.
Yeah.
I was waiting to see who was gonna flinch first. I wanted to see her come out.
Sociopath, man.
So I thought of a fun question that we could maybe not necessarily go out on, but if we do, we will. As we were talking about interviews earlier, what's some fun memories everybody has? Some interesting interview stories. Because we've all had jobs.
There was the one that I told you where it was like a...
just rewind the tape again.
Yeah.
I'll just go back, copy and paste.
Tape? One of these things you speak of.
Thanks, Grandpa.
Yeah, Monica will make fun of me for saying rewind. I'm like, it's you know what I'm saying.
It's the sentiment that counts.
Where's the clicker?
You still do it with DVDs and Blu-rays? Come on.
Yeah, like reverse the video. Rewind.
Yeah.
I was in this weird, like, it was administrative assistant training, and I was doing it when I was on welfare. We had these interviews. I was told that they were no, it was something totally different. I was told they were mock interviews for Deloitte, by Deloitte, right? I mean, you would imagine, because Deloitte, they sort of do that sort of thing, right? So I come in and basically it was at a time where like I wasn't.
Sorry, we're distracted by Luna.
Yeah, where I wasn't, I guess, as confident or secure in myself and stuff like that. So I would nervously laugh after everything. And this one woman pointed it out. I think it was like 3 people.
That always helps, right?
Yeah. And
Thanks.
And I basically listed one of my things as like, critical thinking skills. And then she's like, she didn't pose this question to me, and I was just like, I don't really know how critical thinking would factor into that. And then she basically said to me that, but you said this, and now you're... And so I was just like, yeah, but, it's not like it's a real interview.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like, there's your critical thinking skills. Like, well, this isn't even a real interview, so, like... And then she's like, yeah, it is. And then I looked at the guy next to her, and he was, like, sort of awkwardly smiling at me. I'm like, yeah, but it's not, though, because, like, what's the position? And, and it was just sort of like, it was like an awkward silence after that. She's like, well, thanks for your time. And I was like, thank you. And I'm like, you can't even tell me what position I'm applying for. That is probably not a real job.
Right.
Yeah.
Darko?
Probably a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, I don't know, but she seemed to take herself very seriously, and I found that funny. I'm like, there's no reason for that.
I've got so two was a story a friend of mine told me. She was applying for a position for park ranger.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That was really cool.
I would love that.
At a Parks and Rec center. So, she grew up in sort of a male-dominated family. So she learned to hunt and she was very proficient in first aid. Yeah. And so one of the interview questions was, what's the most impressive skill or skills that you can bring to the table? And she was like, well, I could shoot you, and then I could treat the wound. Yeah. And they were like, all right, you got the job.
Technically, anybody can say that. You treat the wound like...
I won't do it well, but I could.
Yeah, exactly.
I shot you.
Wrap it up.
All right, here's a Band-Aid.
I am treating the wound. Walk it off.
And one of the most interesting interview questions I've had was for this job that I'm working at now was, if you could be any type of book, what kind of book would you be?
That's a stupid question. You could be
one that demands an answer like limited edition.
Oh man!
Seal the deal.
Nice.
That was a good answer.
Yeah,
that's well played. It is a weird question.
That's a stupid question.
It's a very stupid question.
It's a very generic kind of
If
interview.
you were a hot dog and you were starving, would you eat yourself? It's a simple question.
That's a simple question.
It's one of my greatest fears.
You have to hide.
It's one of my
Would
greatest
you
fears.
eat the moon if it were made of ribs?
That you'd wake up and and be a donut and you'd eat yourself. I wouldn't even question it.
Why am I a donut? Like, oh, there's donuts. Okay, so I have this thing, impressive questions to ask an interviewer, right? And there's a few of them that are like just normal, but there's a few that are kind of like I like it how it's sort of I'm starting to feel lately where. I mean, I have savings to fall back on. So if I'm in a position, I'm in a position where I can say to, like, if I needed a job or if I didn't like this job, I can say, I'm not doing that. You know, you're asking more of me than you're paying me. I'm gone. And so I really like that aspect of like having the sort of power to refuse, not being forced to do something you don't want to do, right? And I think these questions sort of speak to that. One would, can you describe a typical day in this type of role? Which is basically, because a lot of companies, what they're going to try and make you do is when you start, they're going to tell you one thing. And then the more that you're willing to do, the more that they're gonna expect of you and pay you the same rate, right? Yeah. So if you get them to lay that out right even before you're hired, you can say, "This is what you said. If you want me to do this, I require more money."
You know how they get around that at my place of work, though, is in every job posting they put at the bottom in the duties and qualifications, right at the end, other duties as required, so they can ask you to do whatever they want.
I get that all the time in kitchens. It's terrible. I'm always going above and beyond.
That wasn't in the job posting. Well, other duties is required.
Well,
another wait, just let me. Sorry. How would my performance be measured? Right. So then you can say, like, again, that also brings it back down to like, okay, so like in what way, like, what would you can outline for me right now what's required of me to get a raise or to move ahead, right? And if I meet those requirements and you don't, you renege, I'm gone. Right, and what was it? What are some of the? What types of careers? What types of career opportunities may open up down the road for a person starting out in this type of position, assuming they perform well? Right.
Very legitimate questions to ask a potential employer.
What? How would you describe the work environment and corporate culture? What are some of the goals? I liked all those questions. Because I really like being like, look, you're like, if you get me, you're lucky, right? You're trying to, you turn it around on them because they inherently have the power, which is not fair. Like, you're getting my time. I have one life. I'm doing something for you that I'm definitely not going to want to do. Like, the only reason I'm here is because you're paying me money, right?
One question that I found was very effective that what I asked was, the panel or whomever would everybody would have a weigh-in, whereas other questions would just kind of be brushed aside by like generic answers. But I would always ask, if I were to get this job, what would be my first priority?
That's a good one.
And so everyone is kind of like you said, they were thinking about it because they tend to get you to fill other responsibilities and other duties, and so I guess they think of the role as kind of a broader position where they can get you to do whatever at times. And so that question can kind of catch them off guard.
Yeah.
And it's a good screener for, the company that you're applying to.
Yeah, because they have the power, they have the position, they have a whole bunch of candidates coming up to them, so they feel like they don't really owe you anything, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like they're doing you a favor just by offering, like, here, there's a job that you might be able to fill. And that's 100%. From my perspective, that's not the case. I don't care about objective reality in that instance. I
love your mindset on that. It's like I'm the one doing you a favor by being here. Yeah. Like you want me. Tell me why I want you.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. If you desperately need that job, never do that. To me, you're sacrificing a substantial part of your human dignity, right? Like
mental health too. I mean,
right. It's. I've got some interview stories, and then I've got stuff I want to.
Yeah, please,
because it's fun. It wasn't so much an interview, just it was a question that really, really bothered me. It was when I was interviewing for youth pastor positions, because that's also what I want to do. Like, I ran the youth center when I was running the food bank, and you guys were there. Like, I really wanted to get into youth pastoring, but I don't have a formal biblical education. Like, I haven't been to seminary. But at one point, as I was interviewing at a church, and I almost left the interview, and I was like, "Oh man, I've got so many sarcastic responses that I'm like, I should have done it." I'm glad in retrospect, I really should have, because I never got a call back anyway. But it was just like, when I was up front in my resume with everything, like, I have not been to seminary, and then one of the people asked, like, if you haven't been to seminary, how do you know what the gospel is? And I kind of sat there like dumbstruck, where I'm just like. My immediate response is like, oh, I guess Jesus didn't know, or none of the apostles, because they didn't go to seminary. And anyways, it just, when you get those questions, like, they're infuriating.
But I think there's a less sarcastic way you could frame that.
I know,
that
I know.
would also
but-
drive the point home.
Yeah,
right?
no, but it was just one of those times where it's like that sarcastic, like immediate
Yeah,
response
yeah.
where I'm like, all right, pause, collect your thoughts, breathe.
In
But
other words, because I didn't go to school, I'm an idiot.
the
The audacity of someone to say that.
yeah, but the interview story, like when I interviewed at Touchstone, it wasn't even for the job; it was for the placement. Like I'm used to when people say like, "Oh, come in for 10 for an interview." You get there at like 9:45, 9:50. You're not going to be seen till like 10:05, 10:10. So I show up at 9:45. I'm chewing some mint gum just because you're trying to make sure you don't have coffee breath at the interview. No, and they're like, "Anthony's ready to see you now." So I was like, "Oh, okay." Threw me off my game right away, 10 minutes early, and that never quite recovered. Partway through the interview, I didn't even get a chance to spit out my gum. And Mike, you met Anthony, awesome guy, but intimidating. He had an intimidating presence a bit. And then partway through the interview, he was like, "Hey man, little tip, it might be good not to be chewing gum in an interview," which caught me off guard. And I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, man." And he's like, "All right, second tip, might not be good to call a guy interviewing your man." So at that point, as the interview's going, I was like, he left to photocopy my stuff. I also had to be straight up with him. Like, if I didn't get the placement, I was going to fail the semester. He's like, "Why are you doing this so last minute?" And I'm like, "So if we don't do this, we screwed you over?" I was like, "No, I screwed myself over. Like, this is on me." And I think he hired me because I was straight up, did the placement because I was straight up and honest about that. But when he left to photocopy my stuff, I was like, "This is going so bad. I should just leave." But then later when I got the job there after the placement, he... 5 minutes of the interview was actually job related, and the next 25 were us just laughing about how bad that first interview went. Anthony, man, I miss you. I doubt you're listening, but you were awesome. But yeah, that as Mike said, as duties require, it's a really interesting area. I think
That's predatory right there in and of itself.
But
that shows their intentions.
See, I'll kind of argue against that though. I think at times it can be necessary. Now, not always, but in the field I work in, I run an evening program. I've got one paid staff with me, and then a couple volunteers.
It's your choice.
So right? I'll tell my volunteers, look, if someone's destroyed the bathroom, which happens way more often than we'd like,
and it's definitely not me.
no, I will full on go to a separate section.
I will ruin other people's bathrooms.
I would defecate. Decimate.
I'll tell any of my volunteers, if it's something you're not comfortable doing or dealing with, don't sweat it. Just let me know. I'm not going to hold you to that. But if for me it's creating that atmosphere of honesty, or if it's just no, I'm above that. I'm like, no, you're not, because I'm not. I get paid, and yeah, it sucks having to clean the toilet, but I can't leave that for the next shift. That's not how you do this. So I think if people are going to have that, as subject, but I can't remember the actual term, but as matter
other duties as required.
Other duties as required. You as the employer, or you as the supervisor on the shift, that means you need to be willing to model that. You need to be willing to do the stuff you're not, you don't necessarily want to do, but that has to get done. Because as an employee, if I see my management team is willing to do that, not just be well, that's on you, I'm going to be a lot less miserable while having to clean that up. If I see everybody, if I see they're willing to do it, then it's all right, cool. Yes, this is cleaning up a bathroom is not my job description, but we don't have everybody there cleans up because there's not a paid janitorial position, and if there was, they're not there till the next day. That's not something that can be left till the next day. So
and something
I think there's room for that, but
in your industry it's a little different too because you're working with the public. Whereas an office job,
absolutely. Absolutely.
It all comes down to circumstance, and
I think there's
in Mike's case that's predatory, and in your case, things happen.
I'm always associated with being predatory.
It's the headband, man.
It's the headband and the white shorts.
The Hawaiian shirt.
It gives you away, man.
But I mean, like even in that instance, like you can make the argument, okay, well, if the employer wants to have a good employee or have good quality employees, then they're going to change the situation. Right? They're going to make the manager clean the bathroom. Right. And you obviously had the choice to say, I'm not dealing with this. I'm going to leave. I'm going to find some place that I'd prefer to work because this isn't my job and it wasn't in my job description. And apparently they can't hire someone to do it. Why would anyone work here? But it's not like it's the printing house, or it's not like it's a library. It's not like it's a business. No. You're an outreach program.
I'm in a nonprofit where we don't like we get money and we're thankful for it, but we also it's not like we're a huge nonprofit. Yeah, raking in all the dough.
You're making the choice, and you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart, essentially, right? And I mean, that's your choice to make. And honestly, objectively, that's as far as you can go. That's the choice you're going to make.
And I love that top-down approach, though. Like, if I'm going to ask somebody else to do it, I better be willing to do it myself.
That's the only time I've ever said no. The only time I've ever said no to say cleaning the bathroom or anything like that is if I had to deal with something else.
Yeah, stuff that you that's
only you can do. If I'm doing it if we're having to call the police or if I'm having to check up on that, it's like I can't be like, all right, I'm gonna mop up the bathroom.
Officer, I gotta go.
After someone scrubbing the toilet with the other hand,
someone missed the toilet, I gotta clean this up. But I can't expect my volunteers or my other staff to be willing to do that unless I am willing to do that.
Yeah, that's like leadership 101.
But that's why I don't there's so much stuff in my field and I think in other people's field where you're going to come across a time where there will be something that needs to get done that's outside your job description.
Oh yeah.
At time it's definitely within reason to be like, look, that's not my job description. I'm not going to do that.
I'm a chef. I've had to throw people out of the bar.
Yeah,
but that's not part of my job.
Yeah,
but we don't have a bouncer.
Yeah,
but this guy's gonna attack one of my servers.
I think we haven't gotten to the main point that I bring this up for is that I think I guess we did, but it circles back to the point that I was making where the very nature of the society in which we live is the appearance of liberty and freedom, right? But essentially you are being pimped out.
Hello.
Yeah. You're being pimped out to the comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I'm definitely not a communist. I don't like communism. I don't like communists. But I do think that there's a difference between socialism for the wealthy and socialism for the people who need it, and still while still remaining democratic, right? I mean, if you're willing to give welfare to big business, but not the people who are actually going to invest the money back into the economy, right? What's happening here? Is that socialism?
It's interesting, just because as I kind of talked about earlier, as I've worked in this the field I'm in, I'm at the point now where I'm I don't necessarily know. Where I've met some people who are roughly my age, who are borderline near millionaire status, but they've worked in real estate. They've been working their butts off to get there. So I have I don't always associate it with the big rich people, just because no, this dude worked his butt off.
Oh yeah. Sometimes it,
Here, man. What do you want from me?
The little person can actually.
I want your love, Christian.
Make that kind of money.
But then, but then, also, it, I'd love more money in welfare. But as people talk about, even us, we had the conversation earlier where it's if we just paid for housing, it'd be cheaper. But I can think of not half, but not that far off, of youth who I've worked with where if you were to give them free housing, it would solve nothing. They'd burn their house down. They'd leave it. They'd trash it. They wouldn't. It would not be beneficial.
Well, and that's where more help is needed. And
that's where I'd love
mental health comes into play.
No, exactly. That's why I'd love to see more stuff into mental health, more stuff into addiction services. Because as much
coupling that with getting them off the streets, though, is we need to supply the housing and take care of people's mental issues at the same time.
Or if we could take care of the stuff, so then we can set them up so they can take care of the house that they're going to get. Yeah. There's so many. Again, there's the person I talked about earlier, where it's homeless by choice. That's not everybody, not even close to everybody, but homeless by choice out of a protests against the government, which I don't understand because it makes no sense.
Mentally.
Where it's like I can make $200 to $300
A day.
panhandling, and that's going towards nothing.
It's kind of annoying to me because that's more than I make a day, and I don't.
And you're yeah.
No, yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah, man. I mean, like it sucks because we're stuck at a point where we're still having that old argument of like, oh, you know, these people are bad people, or we don't have the money, or like it's a moral thing. It's like, dude, we have the data now to show what's the most effective use of money, right?
Right.
So if we're going to spend the money on this and this and that, like on police force and non-compassionate like intervention and stuff like that, you're going to end up costing the economy more money in the long run because these people are going to be in and out of the hospital. They're not going to be contributing taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it just
You're not
it makes
fixing
sense.
the problem.
Yeah, it makes sense because that's why, like, you know, we're all those fiscal conservatives. You know, because they're all like, oh, but you know, it's going to cost this much money. It's like, yeah, man, but when you look at the data, you're going to end up making the country billions more from actually having this many more
10,
productive
15
citizens.
years down the line.
Yeah.
Right.
These people are going to be
Paying more now, but then
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
well,
an
it's like
they're
investment.
getting it back tenfold
And
because they're all paying taxes now.
That's what I
instead
was
of-
saying when you two were out about education,
yeah.
and that you invest in education, whether it's cheaper education or it's outright free education. It's an investment in society and the economy.
in the future.
These
yeah.
people are going to be educated and contribute.
Yeah.
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 Instead, money's just constantly going to big business and with bailing them out and giving them welfare and time again, the data, not only the data, but just like, you know, just read the news of the past like 40, 50 years. Time and time again, they take this money and they promise, oh, we're going to hire this many people, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
They just end up buying back their stocks. They end up, you know, none of the
Cutting
money,
jobs
it's
anyway.
being,
Trickle down economics is what
It
you're
does,
talking
it does
about.
not work. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work. It's been shown not to work.
It doesn't trickle down.
It
It's
does not
never
trickle
worked.
down, dude.
Yeah, it's
like,
never worked.
it sucks because there's so much data
I can
now.
feel your passion.
Dude, there's so much data now where it's like we don't have to have these arguments anymore. Look at this is the data. You get this much good, you get this much money back for this much money in. Why are we talking about whether these drug addicts deserve help, whether they're good people or not? Why even talk about that? It's like at the end of the day, we're a country. The country's going to fail or succeed together.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Like, I think the people who are thinking like that they're morally bankrupt.
A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, so let's strengthen our weakest links.
Yeah, like, I don't know, man. There's like, it seems like there's two different societies being created, right? Like the rich and then everyone else. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking it's starting to really suck being part of the everyone else crowd.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Earlier, as we talked about, like the idea of fake news, or like I hate that term, and I hate the term.
Give her anything else.
Why did you have to give her that?
I didn't give her that. She found it. I hate.
That's what you should be using for when Darko starts.
I also hate the term alternative facts.
That is Orwellian.
Yeah.
Because,
Horse.
but
Orwellian.
so much stuff I see though, like, and it's a case on both sides.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Where it's like, if the left is bringing up something and the right can refute it, because it's not. When people cite facts, it's like facts are universal. It's like there are so many facts that disprove each other. That's constantly changing. That happens. That will be a thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just hate the idea of alternative facts because it's like it's an idea you can just dismiss what somebody else is saying without having to like look into what they're saying or look into their argument or look into like what supports that conclusion.
Yeah, it's a fascist tactic, man.
Yeah.
Authoritarians, even those who don't have any authority or power over anyone, but who like the idea of it, like the president or people who follow the president. They're really attracted.
Which is
to
not everybody who follows the president. Just
what was it? Not every Trump voter is a racist, but every racist is a Trump voter. And it's like,
I'd argue that because I think there's plenty of racists on the Democratic side.
it's
But
very
that's a
interesting.
kettle of fish.
Yes, yeah. I mean, racist in the way that like they have the best intentions, but they're just sort of dumb. They just don't get it. They still have their preconceived notions that they're acting on.
Also, I'll say now, I hate the conversation where it's like reverse racism isn't a thing. I'm like, no, I'm not. But if you're if you're using racist terminology against a white person, I think that's racist. When we
definition of racism.
but we're redefining words, so it's like, okay, no, like. In the UK, there's a petition right now to define like rape as something that can happen to a man because right now it does not.
Right.
where it's like,
It
no,
absolutely can.
forced to get, like, someone forced to have sex, that's rape.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to include, like, well, no, you have to include, like, forced penetration as rape, because then the guy being raped. But you're looking at racism right now as being touted as, like, no, it's institutional.
Only
all
white
that.
people can be
It's
racist.
where it's like, that's not true. Now, yes,
Yeah.
that is true. There is institutional racism. But,
Yeah.
like, if an Asian person makes fun of a black person for being black, that's racist. If a black person makes fun of an Asian person or a Spanish person, and on and on and on we freaking go, that's racist. But suddenly, if I, as a white person, make fun of a black person, or no, if a black person makes fun of me as a white person, why is that not? Why are we now making the square a friggin' circle? I don't understand.
You live in North America, that's why.
Yeah.
No, man, it does make sense. Like, I think the right and the left, I think people are seeing an opportunity to grab for power, right?
Right.
And they're both very, like, Orwellian stances or tactics, right?
Yeah, identity politics. It's a
Yeah.
dangerous game.
It's gross. It's really gross.
Yeah.
And again, like, I don't think anyone should. You shouldn't look at someone based on their culture
Yeah.
or their skin color. You should look at it as in, like, shouldn't hate people because of that, man, or even their political beliefs. You should hate
Yeah.
people
Morals.
if they have
What comes out of their mouth?
an unmoral amount of money and what they're using it for, right? Like,
Well, it doesn't have to be about money.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I mean, but
100%, it's always women. That's the only reason. And, like, dude, like, you think the world wouldn't be a better place if you know?
I'm not saying it wouldn't. But, like, when it comes down to like judging a person, like it shouldn't be anything to do with their culture or their skin color. Or anything. It should really just be who they are as a person.
Yeah,
their
no.
morals and their values.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Well,
the real enemy isn't, like, the other culture or
Right.
the other
Now,
ethnicity. It's literally the people the haves.
And it's not to put you on the spot, but
Yeah,
it's
but a lot of half-nots can be dicks too. I mean,
like,
Yeah, no, but that's not the main.
as you're saying about
I know.
the money thing, just because I think you can be a really moral person and have a lot of money.
Well, Bill and Melinda Gates. I mean, I totally support them. I don't think they should be, raked over the coals in any way.
Now-
I think that's a good example of what to do. Like, I mean, that's one of the better examples. I wouldn't,
See, I guess with me with money, as much as, like, I know if I ever came into money, or I'd like to think if I ever came into a lot of money, I'd be generous with it, I'd be kind with it. But at the same point, if I guess where I get uncomfortable at times with people, not you, just the conversation in general, like, down with the rich, down with whatever, it's like, if you're making a lot of money, like, who am I to tell you what you can and cannot do
as long as
within
you're
the
paying
law?
your fair share.
Like the rich in Canada are in a higher tax bracket, so they do automatically pay more taxes than I do. If I ever get a higher paying job, I'm going to automatically being paid more. But who am I to tell somebody who, within the law, within what they have to do, is lined out, wants to spend their money on a friggin' replica Batmobile from Tim Burton?
Awesome.
Who am I to tell
That
them
would be
they can't do that?
no one's telling anyone what they.
I know you're not. A
Yeah.
lot of people are.
Yeah, I think my perspective is, I would like to see, I guess the ethos around it change, right? And the expectation of people, like, talking about tax loopholes and things like that. Like, all of those should be 100% completely closed. Everything should be reformed, right?
100%.
If you make money here, both, like, your company and you're
Right.
paying taxes, right?
So then, if the stuff goes up, you can't just be like, "Yeah, we're moving to another country." Because
Yeah, you're also not hiding income in
Right.
Bahamas or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
You made your money here. Your business is successful here. You owe us.
right,
Because without literally all those have-nots, business wouldn't have probably gone anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
You wouldn't have were it not for that.
a factory like Ford couldn't run without the people who needed the jobs.
The jobs and people who needed the cars.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like and then even you go down, the people who mined out the iron or the steel and stuff, they were making even less money. Like, maybe overseas. Like,
right.
it's. Yeah, man. There's people who take their money and they hoard it. Not only do they hoard it, but then they support causes that are, like, immoral or that would require them to not donate, but to contribute less to society when they already have so much.
Right.
And to me, or like, man.
If you have the power to help, you should want to help.
Yeah,
Not
no,
that
no.
you should have to help, but you should want to.
No, and I guess that for me is where I struggle, where it's like I'd love to see the rich, and if I ever were to become the rich, and people always cite the 1%, like friggin' we're in North America, we are the 1%. Like we're not
for
that.
yourself, I am not.
But in comparison,
I make 20 grand a year.
in comparison to other countries where they make substantially less than that,
Yeah.
like that's what I mean.
I think
And
what's the cutoff? 35,000. I think is when they say like you're in the upper 10%.
And
Well,
no, and I like
I'm a little above the poverty line.
with what I make. I'm not at the poverty line, but I'm not in there. But like friggin', I own a house, I own a car.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
We're doing well. Like not friggin' Bill Gates well or anything, but
that's why I said all right.
That's the
That's why I
exception
said
and
all
not
right.
the rule.
You're not letting your kids walk in front of your ox plowed tractor, so they get blown up by a landmine, not your ox, because an ox is way more expensive than making another kid.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Man.
But like,
Don't get me started on oxen.
Oh, the ox industry.
I like the idea of people wanting to help. I guess I want it to be a choice. I don't like the idea of where it becomes.
But I mean,
Like, there's already mandates within the there's already mandates in the taxes. I'd love to see some reform, like you're talking about. But
like,
I guess if I were in a situation, I'd like, as an individual, to as autonomously as I can make a decision. Because
I
then
agree.
I'm inclined to make that choice. If I'm being forced to do it, I'm going to be building a resentment to that.
perfect example of why, in a sense, some people should have to be or should be forced to make society better with their money. And like Notre Dame, that was a tragedy, it burning down. But within 48 hours, there was enough money to solve the hunger problem in Africa.
Right.
Because everybody's like, "Oh, we got to rebuild this church." Like, I'm not saying the church shouldn't be rebuilt, but just the fact that like everybody's like that, we're going to rebuild this church. Yet nobody wants to help feed starving children, or cure AIDS.
Now, just to toss something out though, there's been substantial aid to Africa, and I think if we're gonna, I get the example you're going with, but then also it's like I think you need to look at how things are being run in Africa.
Oh no, of course.
Yeah.
Wealth is being sent, stuff is being sent, and they're not getting it to the people.
Oh no, I know.
I get where you're coming
just
from.
Like the poverty issue, the hunger issue, not even just Africa, but the world over.
No, and that's
the government itself subsidizes charitable donations from the wealthy, right? And I was thinking, like Tom and I were talking about because AOC and the Green New Deal, they're talking about the 70% tax on people who make after $10 million. And I'm thinking to myself, I would feel guilty as hell to make that much money. So you know what? If you want 100% after that, take it. I'm fine with that. I'm more than fine with that. Just make sure you're using it for something like
for the right reasons.
For the right reasons. And I could see people making the argument that it's like, oh, but they're not gonna. But it's like, yeah, dude, you have so much. Like, can you morally live with yourself? Thinking like when you have like everything you could ever possibly need and your future secure, and you want more.
Yeah, like I don't need $10 million a year. I don't even need $1 million a year. I'd love $1 million a year, but I don't need that much money.
It's disgusting,
right?
Man.
Yeah. No, and I think that's fair. Yeah. I think at the same point though, like we are on a learning curve where North America and the West in general, but it's nicknamed the American Dream. But even right now, still, as people are like, no, you need to care about others. I find like they're putting the onus on the government to do that, which the government can do more, so I think they should. But I'd love to see more people doing more. But that's in counter to a message being sent, because a lot of people are like, no, get yours by whatever means necessary.
Because there's so many little people who have nothing. That's why they can't help.
You have so many conflicting messages within that, though, where it's like, hey, government, you need to help, and you need to help me. But that doesn't mean I give any of my resources. Because I'm being told I need to get mine. I want a guy who's married. I'm going to go get him.
If you're asking for help from the government, you probably don't have many resources to give to help others.
I will. I think we can make an argument against that, though. Not for everybody, because there are people who desperately need help from the government.
And there's a lot of scammers out there. There's a lot of scammers
there needs to be more money in there. But at the same point, like when I ran a food bank, and you see it at other food banks, you see people showing up in their Mercedes Benzes.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that
I
saw that, I'd be like, no, you're not getting, no, get out of here.
But
sell your car.
He might have gotten it for cheap. You can't
I don't care.
we can't get the proof.
Probably a drug dealer.
Potentially.
Sell your car and then buy food.
Well, I mean, that's another problem, because you can say, like, oh, there's all these abuses of these systems and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, obviously there needs to be reform from the ground up, right? And then to speak to what you were saying, when people are like, I have to get mine, life is terrifying, and it's difficult. And I can definitely see that perspective of being like, I worked very hard against all these odds, and I got here, and I thought I was going to die the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So I could see that sort of like cultivating that fear, and just resenting people who weren't able to do what you did, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what we're talking about anymore. I think if the rich weren't so rich, and we were able to take their money from them and give it to people who needed it, in so many, obviously the most simplest, dumbed down way of putting it.
I guess I don't.
There should be more parity.
I don't necessarily have faith in
the government.
People by and large, not even necessarily the government. Like people by and large, I have a lot of faith in individuals. Where it's like the idea of wealth redistribution. I'm like, okay, I know a lot of people who advocate for that, but I'm like, you wouldn't do this if you were in that position. You're advocating for it now, but the second you get that money, you're not going to hand it out to anybody.
Yeah. If you were the one sitting on $100 million,
you would be like,
not let them
this is mine.
Money. Yeah.
This is mine. Y'all not getting any.
Maybe. I mean,
where that's
what taxes are, though, wealth distribution.
I think, like,
they're supposed to be.
Personally, I like the idea more of, like, we got to work on it from the ground up. We got to work on it from a community level. That's where I get frustrated with churches where I see churches not giving. That's where I'm thankful where I do see churches where it's like they do stuff where they're caring for the poor, where they're sending missionaries to other countries, but they're also doing stuff for their local community. Yeah, I'd love to. It's interesting because I've heard a lot of people be like, well, the church needs to step up, and the church has. But there's also a lot of government rules and stuff because the people who are like, the church needs to step up, when the church tries to, they're like, no, get your Christianity away.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time.
Well, I mean, if the church were, I mean, like, you can still be a church, help out, and have no one know that you were a church or affiliated with any religion. But I think that sort of defeats the purpose where the church is like, well, if we're going to give some of this money away,
we want to try to help people bring
people into the faith, right?
Church, yeah.
I mean, like, obviously, I understand the motivation, but I don't think it makes it impossible to help. I mean, it just makes it impossible to help without getting anything in return. and to be fair, I mean, you can't really speak of the church as like a monolithic thing, even Catholicism, or anything like that, right? Yeah. So I don't think that's fair either. I think it's definitely like a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Like
I think this could be a separate 3-hour podcast because we are nearing 2 hours and 45 minutes actually.
You want to kick it down?
Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Any final words, gentlemen?
Any more questions about
non-cuss words? Darko, any other origins of words?
any other questions about idiomatic expressions?
Racially charged. What are the terms? Not terms of phrase. What are the
idioms?
Idioms. Yes. Thank you.
So, any questions about idiomatic expressions?
Again,
so that answer next time.
$4 first.
$4 first.
All right, well, listener, thank you for listening. This will probably end up being part 3. So we hope you enjoyed today's episode, guys. Thanks for coming out. It's as always great to see you.
Pleasure as always.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man, really miss you and wish we could see you more. And that's why I was such a big old bee about making sure everybody can get here on the same day.
Yeah,
I appreciated that. Yeah,
and the only reason, like, I mean, if I got, I don't know, kind of, I wasn't mad, but I was just sort of like miffed. Yeah, because I was like, and the only reason I was is because it was important to me.
No.
Like, I'm just like, I miss you, man.
Yeah, no, and I miss you guys as well.
Yeah.
Most of the time with weekends, it's just because of our work schedules. Most of the time, like, Jill and I try to keep weekends for us because also we'll be off seeing family.
Believe me.
No.
Totally
and that's why I didn't.
But we're coming out here too, you know.
Oh yeah, no, and that's
our weekend
the thing. And that's the thing. I was like, all right, it's a weekend where Jill's going to be away.
Yeah.
Like, let's make this happen.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if it seemed like I was being difficult.
No, I mean, we all got our own stuff to deal with, right? But I that is what I felt. I was kind of like, okay, well, you know, we like my weekend. I wouldn't even, man, if I could do it, one of the biggest reasons I want to move in with Monica is so I don't have to go anywhere to see her. So instead, like on the weekends, I can just stay at home and not do anything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I mean, that's where I felt. I was just like, yeah, man, like we all got stuff, but like it's important.
Oh yeah, no,
man.
no,
It's
no,
important
no,
we
no.
all get
And-
together, man. 'Cause
Oh yeah.
we're
I've known you since 4th grade. I've
Yeah.
known you since 6th grade. So I was friggin' 9 and 11. And
Mike and I
that's
just figured this
accidental.
out the other day. We've known each other 20 years now.
Yeah.
yeah.
20
Oh my
years.
gosh.
Yeah.
A
Like,
total side note.
It's insanity.
As we
I'm
were
only
talking
31.
about, as we were talking about trips, like things that made us feel old or existential crises, friggin' when the Phantom Menace turned 20 earlier this year.
That was weird. 'Cause
Oh
I
my
remember
gosh.
I saw A New Hope, or Star Wars, whatever you want to call it, when it turned 20.
Yeah, the special
So it's the
edition
same-
in
it's
theaters.
the same age as the
That's so
originals
weird.
were when I first saw them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like forever, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
That-
that's
It felt
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Or
Like it was
Wilson.
20 years ago, the 70s, that was
like a lifetime ago.
that was something I couldn't
Yeah.
comprehend.
Yeah.
It was
It's
it was in
unfathomable.
the history books.
Whenever people reference
We saw Phantom Menace together.
Yes.
in theaters.
Yeah. The day it came out.
Nerds.
Yeah.
You know what podcast you're on, dude?
Exactly.
I didn't think you were there.
My bro.
We were saying everything together at that point.
Oh, I thought I went with my dad, and he begrudgingly came with me.
I still think of 10 years ago as being the 90s when something.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
I
10
know.
years ago.
Oh
Oh, yeah, the
my
90s. Right. It's
Yeah,
Next
no.
year it's
I was
gonna be
listening to a
2020,
classic
we're gonna be
rock
in the future.
playlist.
That's when we stopped.
I had a
growing up.
classic rock
Like early
playlist,
20s.
and the Tragically Hip was on.
Yeah, I was
and I was like,
Yeah, that's why I stopped listening to Q107
What?
because it's classic rock was
Playing
playing stuff from
Nirvana?
the 90s.
Yeah, like
what?
And-
No.
Conversely, India 88 is like, well, we got some great indie hits for you. Now here's David Bowie with Space Odyssey. Wow, he's a real up and comer. I
Super independent artist.
I hope he makes it.
Biggest rock stars ever.
He's reanimated and makes it.
But yeah, no, man. Like it's super important for us
Yeah.
to get together, especially
Yeah.
like as we get older,
Yeah.
because like I see. Remember how like when we were younger, you go through malls, you see these groups of old dudes just chilling,
Yeah.
and they're all retired, and they just sit together and like read the paper and just talk.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, like I would love that when I get old. Like that's the goal, man.
Yeah.
You guys better take care of yourselves. Get there.
I mean, ideally, I would die before that happens. But if I have to keep living, I would love to do it with you guys.
Like, when I turned 30, I thought people were going to say, like, how do you feel? And my answer was going to be, I'm really surprised I lived this long. I never thought I'd live this long.
It's true. Well, when we did the burger count that year,
Well,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm gonna die at 25. So once I got past there, I'm like, I'm on borrowed time, man.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna die. Live forever.
David.
If I haven't died yet, I'm not gonna.
I remember going to McDonald's with Mike
Yeah.
in high school, and they had some like double cheeseburger special
Yeah.
or whatever.
That was fantastic.
And I ordered 7 double cheeseburgers, and they're like, "Oh no, you can only get them in pairs." And I was like, "Okay, give me 8 then."
No, it was even worse than that.
Round it up.
You kept ordering an odd number. They kept having to tell you, no, odd, or no, pairs, even numbers. Yeah, that was funny. And then we went back, we had to go back to school after that.
And I at least half them on the way.
Remember we were sitting in the front row.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what class it was. We were sitting there just eating burgers and coffee.
One of my favorite memories of that when we just eat terribly is going into Jurassic Park 3, which sucked.
oh,
But
with the
then-
pocket burgers.
Yeah, no, and then
Fallen Kingdom.
as friggin' Mike as like the Spinosaurus is biting into a dude, Mike's biting into a burger and the ketchup's going down the side of his face.
Yeah. You know, as bad as JP3 was, it's still better than Fallen Kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah, Fallen Kingdom's terrible.
That was a bad movie.
Screw that
I
movie.
don't see movies.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Yourself lucky on that
Don't
one.
watch movies.
Got yourself lucky on that one.
We live very different lives in that in that regard.
It's like, what are movies?
When someone's like, "I don't watch TV," I'm like, "I don't understand."
I don't
Like,
see nearly as many movies as they used to. Like, either they
I-
can't hold my attention or I'm just not interested in the first place.
like, I was talking with Steve as we were doing our Spider-Man Homecoming one, or sorry, Spider-Man Far From Home, or Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, whatever.
Lost in Europe.
Lost in Europe, yeah.
Lost in Afghanistan.
That'd be a great one.
Like Cloverfield-esque, like
But
Yeah, Paul Greengrass directs it.
it was like he had seen it twice. I was like, "Yeah, I can't do that because I saw friggin' Endgame 4 times." And now you got to be choosier with when you go. Because also now there's so many more movies than there used to be.
Oh, yeah.
Because it used to be like, here's the summer and here's your blockbusters, and then...
Here's the 3 movies you want to see this summer.
After January, it was like, all right, our Oscar bait's done. Now here's the dump the garbage selection that we have no faith in.
There used to be nothing from January to April.
Yeah.
And now there's blockbusters year round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
2 movies a
blockbuster
month at
season
least.
anymore.
2 movies a month at least now.
Yeah.
That are just like, what? Oh, wow, that looks really good.
At this point, I think...
Not my man.
At this point, I think I've got...
I'm getting Chris Tood over here.
Whoa!
Hashtag Chris
Oh.
Well, last time I said me Tood, and then we had the thing in the WhatsApp. It was like, hashtag Chris Tood.
You sound like an old man.
In the WhatsApp.
On the telephone device.
Facebook.
I started doing that like as a joke, and now I just do it. Now I just say it. Like, there's so many things that I do that with. Like I'll talk like sort of ebonically sometimes. Like you heard.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, it's like,
You're dead. Why you living?
oh, did you get that from me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Because you did that on the last podcast.
Oh, wow. Okay, it's still a thing, man. It's still around. Like, I look around, like, when I'm going to work and there's so many people, I'm like, why are y'all living? Like, if you were all dead, like, this, I wouldn't be bothered by it right now.
Gosh. Life would be so much better.
You're Dwight Schrute walking through that high school being like, there's too many people.
Yeah.
Before we go, I just need to rant about Facebook because I thought of it.
Okay.
I was trying to sign up for Facebook for an account for the Oasis Coffee House because that's like all the programming on at my work for breakfast, for evening, and weekend. Like, that's where we post. We all share an Instagram account, and the youth are friggin' loving it. So I tried to sign up, and when I did, though, they were like really strict, like frighteningly strict. After I signed up, they sent me an email being like, we need you to verify who you are, so you need to submit a copy of a government-issued ID to us.
Nope.
Burn the hell.
This was Facebook asking
Facebook, yeah.
No thank you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm like, I'm not doing this. This will never be set up.
No.
Like, you have too
I don't
many
have Facebook
privacy
on my phone
leaks.
anymore.
And why do you need that information?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need that. Who's going to be faking being Chris Cook? Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, you want to talk about dystopian? Like, these people are gonna like Google and Facebook. They're gonna be able to not only they're gonna be able to decide what you think for you, and not even the sense
They're
where
already
like
doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to control you, manipulate you, and
Well,
they know things about you that you have no idea about.
around the time Captain Marvel came out, like, there was stuff submitted in the YouTube algorithm and then on Google as well, where there were people intentionally being crappy towards the movie, like just trying to bomb it, just being dumb. But there were people who had genuine issues with the flick, who didn't like it, so they were being negative. Like, but not in a bad way. They were being critical.
Constructive criticism, right?
Constructively critical. But around that time, because of all the people being stupid about it, YouTube changed the algorithm where if you search Captain Marvel, it
everybody
took
got
like
lumped into it.
4 pages to find anything where it was critical. It was all just the praising stuff. Same with Google, where it's like, if you try to search something outside of, like, I don't want to say left or right view, but at times, like, the popular Democratic view, if you're trying to find a news source outside of it, it takes like deep searching to find it.
They suppress the right.
Yeah,
It's the suppression
which
of the right.
should not be the case.
No, absolutely not. And I might
shouldn't-
disagree with everything the right believes in.
You shouldn't-
But they have the
I-
right
I-
to.
I don't
This
want
is
the
a-
right
believe it.
suppressed or the left suppressed.
It's
like,
about money, and there's a culture war going on, right? And
cancel
clearly,
culture.
the left is winning, and I think for a good reason. Because look at the right.
Yeah.
But like, I just want to say, okay, look what on MSNBC. You would say, hey, that's a leftist news organization,
Yes.
right? No, they're not, man. They're a corporate news corporation. And well, look, they smear
With left-leaning
Sanders.
ideology.
Like, Sanders went on, the newscaster was like, oh, she basically tried to call him a misogynist, and he was like, well, can you give me an example of when I was a misogynist? And she couldn't. Like, they're constantly trying, like, man, it comes back to the money. It doesn't matter if it's left or if it's right.
Sure.
You have Sanders saying stuff about breaking up big banks and taxing Wall Street and all this stuff. And you have reports of meetings amongst the top Democratic donors with people like Buttigieg. Yeah, Buttigieg. And other corporate Democrats, establishment Democrats saying, we got to take Bernie down. He's our biggest threat, right? So it's, I think, man, it's really about money. It's 100% about the money.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like, did
because
Comcast
it's
owns
big tech.
NBC.
Yeah.
And did you hear anything about net neutrality in the debates? anything at all. No, why would you? Because Comcast owns NBC.
Yeah.
And it's about money. It doesn't matter if it's left or right.
That's fair.
Well, when we're talking about like Google, Facebook, YouTube, all of that, like their money comes from the left. So that's why there's the suppression of the right. Coming from those tech companies.
This is what I was going to say, and I was going to say, Christian, back me up on this. And maybe I'm brainwashed, I don't know. But I was going to say that there is, like you're saying, there's a lack of right-winged news sources. I was going to say the explanation for that would be usually the left-wing sources are the ones that are researched and fact-checked.
Oh, yeah.
Where the
and
right-wing ones
usually
are
crazy.
Some crazy guy yelling on the corner, and they write it down, or just completely made up.
Well, what was...
And on the subject of MSNBC, I find they are like an inverse of Fox News. Where Fox News is too conservative and they're nutbags that way. MSNBC is too liberal and they're blatant about it.
Well, and that you get that with CNN as well.
CNN, they are leftist, but they don't seem as, for lack of a better term, nut bar about it. MSNBC, they start yelling and get all worked up, just like on Fox News, they yell and get worked up.
It's not news.
CNN, they just present things and they give their opinions, but they don't get worked up about it and make it an act.
A talking head yelling match sort of thing.
But they do definitely try and spin things their way. Like,
well, sure they do.
Left leaning.
They're owned by corporation as well.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I that's why I hate the news, because I just hate the bias of it. I want my news to be unbiased.
Corporate media.
I mean, that's kind of a misnomer. There's no unbiased news.
Yeah.
Well, and...
But that's what I want.
Just as a counter argument,
Twitter.
I've seen some stuff where it's like with, as you're mentioning, like the right used to be the unsighted things. Like I think there's a lot of that on the left as well now. Both are very much guilty of it. You can find some right wing stuff where it's like, okay, we're recognizing that this is. They'll be upfront about the perspective, but they're not trying to be like this is unsighted. They'll source some. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's been a while since I've been on the website. It's an American one, but they'll also, whenever they're citing something, especially if it's like a rebuttal article against something a left publication is, then they will always cite the article, and then if they're presenting a stat, they will give you the link to the stat. I'm like, this is how anybody should be. I'm not agreeing with your conclusion,
but I like
that you're citing this.
Yeah,
and then
like,
also
I don't like Steven Crowder, but he has citations for.
And then
everything
also, if
that
you're
he says.
trying to if you're putting your viewpoint in, you're being to give them credit where it's due. It's not like, well, they're saying this, but what they're saying is this. It's like, what I'm hearing is this. I think this can be taken to this degree, but judge for yourself. Here's the clip.
The problem with that is, like I was saying, citations are good. The problem with that, a little asterisk, is those citations may not be
accurate.
Valid.
Yeah.
On I
think it's funny when a Vox journalist cites a Vox article, and it's like, no, come on, that does not count. He did the same thing. It's like, we don't treat animals badly. Look at our investigation into ourselves.
Yeah.
I remember the website. It was called The Federalist. That's not to say they're perfect by any means, and they definitely do have a right lean. But out of right-leaning sites that I've come across, like they're pretty chill in comparison to others. It's not like anybody saying libtard or anybody saying conservative, or it's not an Infowars or a Rebel Media where they can get very extreme, or a Young Turks where they can get crazy harsh,
or a Vox,
or a Vox, or a Vice, or a friggin' BuzzFeed, because apparently you get news from that.
Yeah,
like,
So circling back,
it's all clickbait.
One of the editors-in-chief of The Rebel is Andrew Scheer's campaign manager.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he has strong ties to
hate groups.
Those will be
My
bright
issue
bars.
is, well, more often than not, whenever a conservative is making an argument, it's always against a liberal idea, but they don't really seem to have any ideas of their own.
Yeah.
Right? And so
there's no counter to it.
It's
just
like, because they know if they
bad.
Okay, if they presented their idea, everyone would be like,
well, your idea is worse.
You're
really
bad person.
You're a monster.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, okay, we're saying both sides are doing this, right? Where they're changing things to fit their own narrative, and they're ignoring facts to again fit their own narrative. And it's like, okay, well, what we should do
more important than facts,
is we should say, like, people who do this, doesn't matter if they're left or right. I mean, we shouldn't listen to them, right? But at the same time, I mean, if you're going for a lesser of two evils thing, it's like, okay, yeah, they may both be doing it, but I think the conservatives are doing it more so that they can continue to be racist and then rob the poor, and then the leftists are doing it because they're dumb and they don't really know any better, and they're just like, they're just saying like, oh, but you can't hurt these people and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, yeah, there's got to be an adult in the room sometime, but I mean, if I was going to choose one side or the other, I would 100% choose the left, because everything I've seen from the Conservative Party I just don't think good people are right wing.
The thing is, conservatism isn't what it used to be. Even what they taught us in civics class, grade 10,
Useless
right?
class.
Conservatism isn't inherently bad.
But they taught us
the people
what being right wing or being a conservative is. That's not what it is now.
No.
Not even close.
Well,
I think
it used to be
shifted so far to the right.
a fiscal conservative, right? It used to be like generally they were fiscally conservative, and that would bleed into like the social things, because generally the left would be like, okay, we need money for this group of people, and then you're sort of like, well, why we don't really have the money, and do they really need it, and why don't we? And then you get into that sort of personal responsibility thing and pick yourself up by your bootstraps. And I think there is something to be said for that. Yes, of course, but at the same time, we have the data now. We don't need arguments like this. You have hard mathematical facts. Why are we arguing?
That's another thing, and I think I was talking to you, Tommy, about it a couple days ago, is that there's a rise in anti-intellectualism.
Yes,
so they see the data, but they don't care because
it doesn't fit my opinion.
It doesn't fit my
It doesn't
opinion.
fit my narrative. That's the fall of Rome type stuff right there, man.
That's the thing. I saw. Oh man,
Nobody cares about facts.
We're
Nobody cares about science
denying what
anymore.
scientists and
but
doctors
you'll see stuff on.
like when we were
research,
talking about anti-vaccination.
You'll see stuff from
academics who know
You'll
what
see
they're
stuff
talking
from
about.
Tumblr.
The smoking yet?
Like you'll see stuff from Tumblr. You'll see stuff from Twitter where it's like
That's not real life.
you can't. It's like, well, that definition is racist, or that definition is like that just supports the patriarchy. That just supports this. So you can't go with that. Where it's like,
Thank you for saying that word.
how? What? Like,
Yeah, your feelings don't make it true.
Yeah. Oh God.
I mean,
there's a lot of the left that I'm just like
You make us all look bad.
man. It sucks, man, because like I think that's one of the things.
Makes us all look bad.
Psychologically, I was saying there's studies been done that like loyalty is in large part a character trait of people who hold conservative values, right? And the left isn't. They're not really hampered by that, but at the same time, I mean, look at the Republicans are doing, right? They're all in lockstep. They're all supporting Trump, even though 5 years ago, they knew what they would have. You know what I mean? Like,
when he was
Three years ago, they were bad mouthing.
when he was initially running, they were like, no.
They don't stand for anything. I mean, we can say that now. Like, effectively,
they stand for their party.
They stand for power.
Yeah,
right. That's all they care about. So the left,
whereas the Democratic Party right now, there's a lot of infighting.
Because
as long as we win,
it's identity politics.
Well, there's that, man. But it's like we're the left, right? And so when we see things like that happening, we're like, why are you doing that, man? Like, that's not the issue. That
You're
is
giving
insane.
us all a bit.
That's all about you, man. Like, that's and so I mean, the left they're far more likely, and I think just as a personality trait, to question their own beliefs and to question other the people in their own group, right? Just so that we can make it better, we can improve it.
I'll slightly fight against that, but not with you guys. Not like you. Not like
you'd lose.
No. Let me rephrase that. Not with you guys, but not about you guys. Like you like
big sexy's throwing down.
Too long to give them that.
But like no. But
3 hours to get to
I said it earlier.
But for example, we don't always agree politically, and listener, I'm like pointing to Christian and Tommy, but we can always have like a really good discussion where it's like we can come to an understanding.
Well, we don't always agree. We don't always agree, but we also we're on the same side.
Yeah,
we believe fundamentally the same things.
I don't think
maybe not the approach.
I wouldn't describe myself leftist. I also wouldn't necessarily describe myself rightist. I'm probably more centrist, but maybe right leaning.
Because the Overton window's gotten so much wider. Right?
But
on a social scale, I would say that you lean more liberally than you do.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
You're a compassionate human being right there. You're on the left.
You care about helping people.
I know a lot of compassionate right wingers. I have issues with that, but where
introduce them to me. I would love to show you how they're not.
But what I see, I get again, I'm basing this on interactions I've had with people online and in person, so I'm not necessarily pointing to empirical data. But if I tracked it, then I could have, I guess, empirical data, whatever. But I see a lot of stuff on the left and on the right, but at times more so on the left with Twitter, with Tumblr, with everything, where it's like the left being echo chamber. You can't entertain what the person on the right is talking about.
Oh, no, that's a problem.
Hear them.
That's a problem.
Like, you can't listen to them. If they are on the other side, they are wrong. Wrong think, anything like that, that's bad. If the right was doing it, I'd call them out, and the right do that, so stop doing that. It's stupid.
Well, it's like we were saying too, even with the infighting. Like the left can say, like, here are our 10 main talking points. You have to agree with all of them, or you're out. You're not one of us.
Yeah.
Well, but I question this. So, you're a right winger.
Whereas I've seen, like, I guess it's out of the conservative, like, the people who are conservatives that I know. It's like, no, I disagree with this, but here's where I agree, here's where I disagree. Let's have the conversation. I've seen out of people I've talked with online who identify as right wing more of the, like, well, what do you think about it? Like, less of the, if you're this, it's like, well, you're not a true Democrat or you're not a true liberal.
I do see that more on the American side of things, though.
Yeah, no.
Like, the people that I'm talking, like, the people that I know in my life, like, they are all very welcoming.
Right.
In terms of, like, you don't believe all of my beliefs, but that's okay.
Yeah.
To me, it comes down to whether or not they're a decent person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And I think there are a lot of views on, like, okay, so, it's weird, and these are all, I guess, cliches, man. But, like, the right wing side, someone would be more likely to, like, if they were a bad person, if a right winger and a bad person, you say, okay, maybe they're racist, or maybe they're for, reducing regulations, EPA regulations, or maybe they're for private prisons, or just things like maybe they don't care, just stuff like that, right? But on the left, it's more of something like if they're fully into playing identity politics, or if they're an in-group, out-group sort of mentality, an all-or-nothing sort of mentality. I'm like, that makes you a bad person too. Mm-hmm. I think that's 100%. Morally wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you're lying in an intellectual sense.
Right.
Like, either you're so dumb that you shouldn't be participating, or you know what you're doing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. In which case you shouldn't be participating.
In which case, and you're still doing it, and you know what's wrong, and you shouldn't be participating.
Right.
Yeah, man. So I think there's a lot of dog whistles for people on both sides. As soon as they start acting a certain way or say one thing, I'm just like, come on, man.
Like, to call it, like, both sides do both things. Like, that's the thing. I really don't.
It's almost as if it's a person thing. Like, the prerequisite is just being a human being. And
earlier when you brought up the Republicans, like, pulling Clinton over the coals.
Oh, that's yeah.
But then, like, and that's
Kelsey Grammer.
That's fair. But then you got the situation of when Kavanaugh was running, and everybody's like raking him over the coals over stuff that. What was interesting was afterwards you had two people full on admit, like, I falsely accused him.
Yeah.
Like, it was for political gain. But you had everybody going at him, and like, a lot of people were saying, like, y'all were Hillary supporters where Clinton's also been accused of rape
and
numerous times.
Oh yeah, he has.
And Hillary
covered up, and she bullied the
and covered it up.
Yeah,
like,
that is
now I'll say
more provable.
I'll say allegedly.
Like
I'll say allegedly, not to be like, well, you can't fault me or anything, but it's like, also, I don't know the case. I wasn't there, but by information given, like, this allegedly happened. There seems to be reason to at least entertain the conversation. Like, look, this potentially happened.
There's a lot more plausibility.
But when people are, that was the thing where it's like, yeah, everybody. People are hypocrites. People suck. That's where we're at.
I mean, my issue with the Kavanaugh thing is that Mitch McConnell made it so that Barack Obama couldn't get Merrick Garland in.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, Merrick Garland was pretty centrist. It wasn't necessarily left or right thing, but McConnell is an all or nothing type of guy, and he's like, we're gonna win. We're gonna destroy them, like obliterate them. He hasn't let a single bill come through.
He's a Russian asset. Anyway.
Yeah, 100% a Russian asset. He's the enemy of the Democratic Republic, the enemy of the Constitution, the enemy of the law, the enemy of the American people.
The world.
I was going to say with the Kavanaugh thing, yeah, they made a point to make sure that Obama couldn't get his pick in. And then they just sort of railroaded him through. And if you ask me, the allegations are just that, but his behavior in response to them, the whining, the tantrum, the child, the entitlement, that man is not fit to serve.
Yeah, you are immediately disqualified.
Yeah, right. I mean, imagine if a woman acted like that.
Yeah.
When she was put on trial.
They call her crazy.
Say what you want about Clinton. 16 hours of grilling over something that like they've ended up, being like, oh, okay, we shouldn't really do anything wrong. And she sat there composed, didn't complain, didn't freak out, didn't throw a tantrum. And he comes in there, he's like, and it's like, come on, man. Like if that was a woman, they would have lost. Like, and it's the same thing with like Obama and Trump. If Obama wore a tan suit. And they lost their minds about it for his entire presidency. And
now, see, I'll slightly disagree just on the sense of the entitlement factor. Sure, absolutely, but if just to give I consider myself an empathetic person. If I was in that situation where I had just had for the past how many ever weeks or months. Just been
gang rapist. I understand
just been dragged through the mud, and then have it happening there. I can't guarantee that I would not emotionally respond to that.
I understand the outrage, but your job as a judge is to not be emotional.
He was fighting with them.
Yeah,
he's a child.
The whole purview of the job is to take your emotions out of
right, but in the sense of this though,
I understand the reaction.
Is that it? In the sense of this though, they're doing it as a trial. They're not doing it as an interview. If it's an interview,
it effectively should have been.
It was effectively an interview for the job.
Here's the most pressure you're ever going to face.
Yeah,
which really isn't a lot. How are you going to deal with it? By getting mad that you're not getting what you want, what you feel like you deserve?
I think in that situation, though, that's not the same thing.
The investigation was part of the interview process for the job. They had to do that because of the allegations.
But if I'm going through a thing where it's like, I'll agree with that. But if you're in a situation where it's like, hey, you're interviewing for this job now for weeks on end, have everybody speculate on your personal life, call you a rapist, call you a gang rapist, call you a drunk, call you that. That in and of itself is much more stressful than anything you will face on that job. That job will be stressful, but that job also you can personally disconnect from because you have to. Because you have to look at things objectionally. But when you're in that situation and someone is pressing you and you feel you are falsely being accused, I can understand entirely why that's emotional.
I understand the emotion. I don't.
That's where I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily an interview. I can't speak to the entitlement because that's a wrong response.
Yeah, as a fellow grown man, I would never react that way. I don't care. I mean, they could be threatening my family.
I would want to inside. I would want to.
But that's part of being an actual.
Yourself in
but then I think,
not a little boy throwing a tantrum.
Exactly.
But then I think there could be room for not a tantrum, but just a.
Dude, did you see?
No. I'm not saying he didn't have a tantrum.
You're saying there's room for a reaction.
I think there should be allowed room for everybody. Yeah. I saw the clips. Yes, it was definitely a tantrum.
If it was a reasonable reaction, I wouldn't be having this reaction.
Anytime any politician or anybody seems to have emotional reaction, tantrum or not, people go at that where it's like, well, how dare you show that? It's like, no, man.
I understand. They're all people too.
There should be allowed some room.
No, man. I mean, I don't know. I would say what you want, but I think it was wrong. And I think,
right? No, and that's
that's just going to stack the Supreme Court. So now we're going to have more gerrymandering, and we're going to have more subversion of democracy. Yeah. We're going to have more, it's
more
just
human rights violations.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, man, to me, it's not even a bias thing. It's like, what's going to make sure that the most people are helped?
Right.
And him being a Supreme Court justice is not going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Regardless if he's right wing or a child or not, which he is a right wing child 100%. I would say it to his face.
Oh, gosh. All right, well, on that light note.
There's so much to talk about.
Yeah. Scratch the surface.
We didn't even cover how Republicans are destroying the earth. Environmentalists.
I'd like to.
Really gets my goat.
They locked Captain Planet in a basement.
You know what really grinds my gears?
10 years while
you America.
Nope.
I didn't say it.
It's all over the world.
No.
Stop it!
It's all over the world, putting profit before the earth being on fire. That's what bothers me.
Yeah, it's happening a lot quicker than I thought it was going to.
We don't have much time left. Nothing is being done.
No,
every time I watch the news, there's there's a heat wave in Europe, and about a month ago there.
Yeah.
In France, it was like 40-something degrees.
Yeah.
People were dying in the streets.
Fires everywhere.
Yeah, and I stop and I say, it's almost as if the climate is changing, and we're not doing anything about it. That bothers me.
That's one of the. I don't want to bring children into this world because I don't know what kind of world I'm going to give them.
Big
How
business.
long they're going to have.
Once again, big business, subverting the will of the people. Right? And then we're all going to die because of it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because these people need a little more money.
Do I really want my children to suffer?
What are they doing with it? What are they buying more power? What are you going to do? If you're living on Earth, dude,
It's
you're going to
insane.
fly through the universe.
Well, yeah, people are saying, "Oh, we can just go to Mars." You know how far away that is? It's not cheap.
We don't have terraforming ability right now, so we
Imagine,
can't.
if you will, you had a planet perfectly suited for your species already.
Already.
No,
So am I.
It's a shame we don't have that.
Pop
though,
out of the
right?
womb,
Right?
bam, you're on it.
I know exactly what I would call it.
Earth.
If you could just, open the door to your house and step out into it.
Oh man, that would be
If it had
amazing.
breathable air and drinkable water.
Isn't that what we all want?
So Darko,
It's crazy.
That's the dream right there.
I
How,
got
like, the middle
oh, sorry.
class is
Sorry.
classified as 100K.
That's
You know, like,
Yeah.
I think that now 100K a year puts you into the middle class range.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That yeah,
Six
that,
figures.
Like that's that should be upper class.
But on a lighter note, I'd like to take this time to appreciate how jacked Mike is. I think we could
Yeah.
I worked
all take a moment of silence.
swole, man. Swole and thick.
Sometimes I see myself in the mirror and say,
How do you
"Oh,
get-
that stuff?"
Look at this unit.
I'd also like to.
Absolutely.
How do you walk through doorways, man? You have to like turn to the
I
side.
turned sideways.
Look at this unit. Oh, you
I'd also like to appreciate that Mike pounded back like 20 ribs the other night and notified us. That was pretty
It was
awesome.
not 20 ribs.
I
It was
wanted
like 20
more, but
pounds of
Oh,
ribs.
20 pounds of ribs.
I'll tell you why I stopped eating the ribs. I wanted more, but I stopped because I knew I wouldn't appreciate them after the next round. I was just eating because I could.
Was it because you
I
were
wanted
going
to
to die?
appreciate it.
Tis not a man, tis a remorseless eating machine.
He was like,
This
he was
looks like
right
a man
quick
who's
with that.
had all he could eat.
I was like,
no,
what the
that
heck?
would have been me.
And then,
You have that
Darko,
shit ready? You're like,
final question for
Did
you.
not take me long to find it.
Final question.
That would be a real question.
What's the origin of a spade?
You did it so quickly.
I thought of it. I wouldn't even know what to
I can
search
answer
for.
that.
I don't know how you found it.
Sorry, buddy.
The Simpsons, all you can eat. Get.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
That's all I searched.
Simpsons
That's
are-
what came up.
Jamie level Googling here.
There's a Simpsons
What?
reference every time.
Joe Rogan Experience.
All right, well, with all that being said, thank you for listening, dear listener. Gentlemen, thank you for joining with us today.
Yes.
Thank you. Darko,
Man.
we appreciate your origin of words and your presence. You were...
Yeah, and your sunglasses.
and your sunglasses.
And the cursing. I loved the cursing.
Corey Hart Alex. Please, just beep it. It was so
you
good.
have to beep it. You
Oh
just-
man,
It's got to stay
no
in.
one, like,
People will really
no one's
appreciate it. It'll be
offended by
really
a
funny.
beep, dude.
They want to do it. And I have
Yeah, take that.
They have negative consequences.
Even I'm on board with that, but the other ones.
Yeah, the F&S.
So
the
first we
F&S.
said,
What?
just have that beep.
What I'm just going to do is take out all the curse words, but then just leave this just to mess with people like, what?
Oh, no, don't they say about the curse words?
Anyways,
The beeps are funny.
we'll figure stuff out. Thank you, dear listener. Hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless, my friends. Take care.